Hello everyone, welcome to the step-to-step tutorial on how to import data in MCDB using the HEURIST interface. My name is Nora van den Bos and this video will be about adding completely new data to one specific table in the database. For this session, I will use this dataset. This is a dataset that holds information on new persons who have been found in the Asian directory historical source. These are the field names of the dataset. You can see we collected different aspects of every person, their name, the different titles that they hold, their gender, the different sources in which they appear, as well as the different URL links that leads to the provenance of the historical source. And finally, we have one field that comments on the nature of the person data. To begin the importing process, we first need to go to the Populate tab on the left side of the interface to drag and drop our CSV file. Then we need to select the correct parameters that allow the HEURIST system to properly parse your file. So let's select the correct field separator and click on Analyze Data. So far so good. The file seems to be properly segmented. Since I know that some people in my file can correspond to multiple rows, it is better for me to use the matching tool of HEURIST. The fields that I will use to do that are full name and gender. So let me select them and match them to the correct field name in MCDB. Pro tip, if you want to make sure this process is as smooth as possible, just incorporate the field names of the database in your dataset. Looking up the field names is also a good way to ensure that you are familiar with the database structure, as well as the expectations of how the values should be formatted for a particular field. These are our matching fields. So here we go. What we immediately get is a red pop-up window in which HEURIST asks me to resolve ambiguous matches. So what does it all mean? So apparently in my file there are some records that correspond to an existing record in MCDB. And since MCDB has more than one record to match, there are what they are called ambiguous matches. So what does it mean is I will have to do an additional step in which I have to declare which record I want to prefer for a specific matched record in my file. Now, since I'm going to only import new data, I do not really care for it. So I will just select and then select the record that I want randomly. And afterwards, I will just order HEURIST to just create new records and no updating records. So let's click on OK. Resolve ambiguous records. I will just ignore it. Apply the choices above. This brings us to step 2, fields to import. You will notice that there is a blue window, and in this window the HEURIST system informs you how many records were matched. In this case it's 34, and how many did not fulfill the criteria of matching and are considered new. Now, I need to remind you that matching records using the HEURIST tool is not the same as properly identifying historical figures in your dataset. The tool is superficial at most because it relies on what you had imported before and only looks at whether the records have the same values, meaning that it doesn't take into consideration missing values in MCDB or in your file. So if a system cannot observe a completely one-to-one match between the record in your dataset and the one in MCDB, then it will completely ignore it, even though these records might match correctly for the fields where they do have a value. So my tip to you is that if you wish to do a proper matching, it is better to do the matching outside of the HEURIST environment and attach the correct HEURIST identifier to the file before import. Anyway, now it's time to select the fields to import. Let's check all the relevant fields down below and link them to the relevant field name in MCDB. Okay. So here I will attach them to the correct field name. Gender, provenance URL, comment. Okay, everything seems great. So before we go to the prepare button, let's make sure that we only create new records, that we only have checked create new records and don't check update existing records, because that will be for the next video. And since everything seems pretty much okay, we can go to almost the final step, prepare. So as you can see, there is now a red window popping up. Now, don't panic if you see a red popping window. Like I said in the beginning, HEURIST will do a superficial checkup of the values that you have in your dataset. So like it will go through the different fields and see if they are like correct. Like for free textual field names like full names, surname, it will be no problem. However, for like fields that require to correspond to an existing term list in HEURIST, it will be more stricter. So what it means is that apparently for the fields of titles, the honorifics 1, 2, and 3, like HEURIST noticed that there are terms that it doesn't recognize. What can it either mean? Either it means that I will have to look at the term list either to accept them, to add them, or like that I have to ensure that I have to adjust them in the file before import. But either way, I don't think it will be big of a deal. So let's select OK. Go to the unrecognized terms, make it show the ones that it has found. OK. So it seems that those terms are, in my view, OK. So what I'm going to do is I decide to add those terms to the database. So add 6 new terms to this field for titles. Oh, yes, I wanted to do that. So you have terms which contain periods. Yes, these are often used as separators between the levels of a hierarchical term trees. No, okay. So I just have to communicate that because I have like a term like PhD, and PhD has like periods, and EURIST can either interpret it as like a subcategory, like that it's will treat PhD as like category PH and then like subcategory D. But because it's like a normal term, I will just say periods as part of the terms. Okay, 6 new terms were imported. Please repeat prepare action. I will select OK and make sure I only create new records. Okay, seems fine. And let's prepare. Okay, so I will do one last checkup of all the fields, honorifics, gender. And I think we are at the end. Let's insert our data. Okay, I will do one final checkup to see how they look in the database. Look, everything looks good. So this is the end of the session on how to import new data in the database. I hope you enjoyed this session and see you next time for part 2 on how to enrich existing data in MCDB. Thanks for watching.